Hey, Phil.
Hello, Arthur. Tell me about zombies.
Well, they bite you sometimes and they make you sick, as you can see there. So this is State of Decay, Year 1 Survival Edition. This is not our first State of Decay rodeo,
Yeah.
Phil. And we're just going to start off real quick with the most brutal thing about State of Decay, which is that your characters can die, and when they're dead for good.
They're gone, just like in for real life.
Right. So one of my best characters got pretty hurt pretty bad on his last thing, and he got sick. And one of the basically you have facilities at your base, and they give you things. And for people to get better when they've been injured, you need medical facilities.
See, what I like about all this, what I like about what you're showing, and it might seem a very slow way to start off the video, not action packed like you might expect from a zombie game, but that's what sets this game apart from other zombie games.
This sort of simulation like society aspect is like what makes State of Decay what it is. And so my immediate problem here is that I have my most leveled up character, because your characters level up, is in pretty serious danger of dying. And so I want to upgrade my medical facility, but I don't have the materials I need to do it.
Yeah.
And so you'll see on the map that there are different missions, like I could hunt for a particularly strong zombie here. But what I'm most concerned with right now is finding more materials to upgrade my medical facility. Because I will be sad if that character dies, because honestly, he's like the most leveled up person. I have a tendency to favor a few characters in this game, and that sort of all levels them up. And so
Yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
driving around, and you can see I've selected a house to go scavenge at to try to find some stuff. Also, the most dangerous weapon in State of Decay is a car.
Yeah, I noticed that. That's you're using it wisely. Does that deteriorate? Like, will the car eventually stop working?
Yes.
Okay.
So you can see in the distance there's a car with smoke coming out of the hood because that car is damaged.
Ran down too many zombies.
I did run down too many zombies, and if it, like, zombies will cling to your hood, and if they do, they'll beat on it, and if you don't get them off of it quick, then they'll
The door thing is
the
so
door
good.
is the best part about State of Decay, I think. If you don't get them off your hood, they'll damage your car faster.
So let's talk about, obviously, because this isn't, as you said, this isn't the first time this game has been released.
Right.
This is the sorry, what do they call it?
The Year 1 Survival Edition. It's State of Decay Yos.
Yeah, Yos.
Nice.
It's out on the Xbox One now, obviously. What's actually new or changed about this version?
So it's actually out on Xbox One and PC simultaneously next Tuesday. So one of they've made some changes to the way that inventory works. For example, cars in this now have trunks that can hold items,
Okay.
and that includes the materials that you get that you need to upgrade things.
That seems
Like,
very useful.
so when you salvage, like, you'll find materials or whatever, and you'll collect them, and there'll be a rucksack on your back. And it used to be that you would need to manually carry those back. Like, you could drive back to your base with them, but it could only be one at a time. And now you can load lots of those into the back of a car and transport them back to your home base. And so that really kind of fundamentally shifts the economy of the game. It makes it easier to amass a stockpile of stuff to improve your base, to make sure people are happy, that like a lack of food doesn't cause people to fight more, because morale is like the thing that you're trying to keep up the most.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, like, if food is low, or you don't have materials to rebuild after a zombie attack and things like that, or you don't have enough medicine, people can die, people can get in fights, like there can be accidents with guns. So you want to make sure you have all this stuff to make sure that your society keeps together, and it's a lot easier to do when you can carry a bunch of it back.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, like, before you'd have to send out scavenging parties to get it, and people can die, like, on missions. Like, they can get stuck out there. And yeah, so that's a pretty fundamental change to the game, and it makes it a lot easier, to be totally honest.
But easier in a good way, like less frustrating.
I think less frustrating, and you can still lose people. I think I was watching someone from Game Informer talk on Twitter about how they keep losing people. Like, the people on their outposts keep dying.
Sure.
So it's definitely an issue in the game, but I think that it's a more approachable game for that. And for the people that want it to be hard, they've also they added quite a lot of DLC and sort of post-launch support to State of Decay after it came out in 2013. They added a mode called Breakdown, which is sort of much more stripped down, less plot-driven sort of survival mode to the game. And then they added a new campaign called Lifeline, all of which is in this version of the game. So there's a hell of a lot of games.
So Lifeline is actually a new, like, essentially a new
it's
story.
It's an entirely new campaign with different characters.
Interesting.
And in here, like, you'll see that, like, one of the things I also like about State of Decay is that it's an open world game and there's, like, stuff to find. And the space really feels important because you need to be in a lot of different places, and then you'll find stuff like this, which sort of cements how deeply you are in the shit when it comes to the zombie apocalypse.
Yeah. But probably some good supplies up in here, right?
No, actually. So here there are no supplies. There are only zombies. And, like, the way that you know that there's something like this out here is, like, you'll drive along a freeway and you'll see, like, a piece of landing gear from this plane. Like, that's how I knew to look for a plane.
Wow. Nice.
But there's lots of hidden stuff in this game to the point where I don't think I've found nearly all of it. And there's, like, a whole new campaign as well that's much more military focused. So
let me ask you this. You know, obviously, one of the things with the original State of Decay on Xbox 360 is really cool game, really interesting concept, kind of janky.
Yeah.
Like technically very unstable, let's say. Has that been improved at all in Year One Survival Edition?
So the most immediately apparent thing that's different about this version than the last version is that State of Decay on 360 wasn't even 720p. It was pretty low res and it was pretty muddy. And as you can see, that's not really so much of a problem on this version. Like, it's not the most amazing looking game, but it's fairly sharp. And for the most part, it runs well, but there are still some pretty major frame rate issues in certain places. And that can be kind of a problem when there's a lot of zombies around, because they will just annihilate you so quickly.
Yeah, and it's also just kind of a bummer, right? Because it's like, hey, it's the next-gen version on the latest hardware, and it's still kind of running junky.
Yeah, and I do want to sort of qualify this with, this is a pre-release version of the game.
Sure.
There's already been one major patch which did improve performance, so that could theoretically happen again. And you'll notice right there that, like, my shots got way louder after a few because the silencer I'd applied to the gun wore off.
Yeah.
And noise attracts zombies, so guns are often not what you want to use, unless you're really close to home base like I am here and you've got a lot of bullets.
As a big fan of the original, Arthur, I'm curious, are you happy with Year One Survival Edition, or do you wish that they'd just gone on to do another game? I mean, I assume another game's still coming at this point.
Yeah, I mean, they've signed a deal with Microsoft. Like, they are, like, even more all in as a sort of second-party developer for Microsoft than they were with State of Decay.
Sure.
So there is a Class 4 in development. Like, the working title for this for a long time was Class 3.
That's right,
like,
yeah.
To sort of dictate the level of zombie outbreak. So there is another game in development. In the meantime, I think that it's fine that this came out. I think that, like, State of Decay actually did really phenomenally well on Live Arcade. Like, I think it was the fastest game to 1 million units sold on Live Arcade when it came out.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm glad to hear it did well, because it's weird. I feel like I don't see people talking about the game a lot, but it is such a cool concept and such an interesting and thoughtful take on the zombie genre.
Right, and it's really successful in that regard. Like, it feels, the society elements and the survival elements aren't just like survival horror, which I think a lot of zombie stuff goes for. I think it's a real sense of survival in a world where zombies aren't the only problem, and it's not like other survivors are the monsters like in something like Walking Dead. It's just that we rely on technology and are dependent on the world functioning the way it does, and when shit falls apart, it's actually kind of hard to keep it together.
Yeah.
And I think that that's an interesting thing that this game explores, and like your little society can be torn apart as much from the inside by people just not getting along as anything. And when you recruit survivors, it actually tells you what kind of personalities they have, and like a lot of them don't get along with each other, and so
Presumably that can lead to more deaths and stuff as well.
yeah. So you actually need to go and resolve some of those conflicts, or they can get worse.
Okay.
And those will become missions where you need to take people for a talking to. Or you can ask people to leave. Like you can tell people to leave your little outpost.
Yeah, see, like that stuff is so cool and so much more interesting to me than just another game where you're just shooting zombies. And obviously you can shoot zombies here too, and that's cool, but
and sometimes people get sick. Like, and there have been people that I had to, take out and shoot.
oh man.
Like before they turned, and that's like a mission where you need to walk to somewhere isolated and like take care of it. And I think that that's something that a lot of zombie games just wouldn't touch, and I think it's really interesting. And
Or if they would touch it, it would be like just a regular part of the narrative, whereas in this game it can be like fully like it just happens as part of I don't know what the right word for this is, but it's just part of what's going on in the systems of the game, right?
yeah, I think that, to my knowledge, any character in this game can die.
Yeah.
I'm bringing this stuff.
There's no like main hero character. You start out as a guy named Marcus, but once you get to the sort of first survivor enclave, you can pick from other people if you befriend them enough, if they trust you, and then it becomes a different game. So that's like a thing that's hanging over this game, that nobody is so vital that they can't just die.
Yeah.
And I think that adds a weight to it that it would otherwise lack. And you see me there like putting ammunition in the back of my truck. And now I'm just scouting stuff out. Like that's like just situational awareness and like exploring the world is such a huge part of this game. And I think that that's really what helps set it apart.
It's such a huge part of the zombie apocalypse. If you're
It really is.
If you're gonna go through it, you gotta know your surroundings.
Yeah, you got to make choices, like, and also like you will not have the same base for the entire game. Like you need to move bases because every place can only hold so many people before it becomes untenable. Like you need beds for everybody, for example, like, and not just like sleeping bags, but if you want them to get better and recover health, like they need beds. And if you don't, you can only hold so many supplies before they disappear.
Yeah.
Like, so all of these are things that you really need to consider, and it's a surprisingly thoughtful game for something that, at first glance, I think just looks like a sort of everyday zombie game.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely surprised me when it came out, and I never played any of the DLC, and actually never played as much of the core game, in fact, as I wanted to. So I'm looking forward to taking this new version for a spin and enjoying the slight improvements in how it runs, at least.
Yeah. And if you bought the 360 version, you get a 33% discount.
Oh,
and also
nice.
you can
That's
transfer your saves from the 360 version to this.
Awesome.
So,
Cool. Well, I look forward to checking this out. Thanks for showing it off, Arthur.
yep.